welcome to Python Coding episode 4, creating playable video links. This episode starts to get more involved as we create our first plugin list structure. By finding links on the web, we return the results into clickable entries in Koding. Now before we start this, can you please go to this web address? Now, this tutorial here, if you scroll down to number 2 where it says Hello World, as you can see here, if you read through the tutorial, I'll be honest with you, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I've read through it again earlier, just before we started this, and even though I kind of know what most things do, it still made absolutely no sense to me. So, you know, I think we just go through it one bit at a time until it kind of does make sense. But that code that you see there in that Hello World, if you could do copy and paste that whole section, so just copy that whole bit from import sys all the way down to the plugin directory thingy at the bottom. So copy that, and then you want to paste that. Oh, let me go. Share screen. That one there. Right, I'm going to paste mine just below my imports. I'll press enter a couple of times as well. So can you see that okay?
Yep.
Marvellous. Now, where we've pasted that, you'll see that we've actually got two lots of import XBMC GUI. So we can get rid of one of those because we only need it imported once. So I'm just going to get rid of the second from bottom one. It doesn't matter which one. And because I like to leave my XBMC things, modules that I import up at the top, I'm just going to cut the bottom one and I'm going to paste it on that OS, just above OS. I mean, you don't have to. I just like my things all in one place. Exactly. Yeah. If I was doing it properly, OCD, how I usually do it, I'd just get rid of all those imports and do one line of all the XBMC ones and then one line of OS and sys. In actual fact,
can you just have one line of all of them?
Do you know, you can do. In actual fact, I'm going to do that now anyway, just to show you. So you can have, if I cut that, just comma separated.
Just to show how anal you are when it comes to
I have it on one line.
Exactly. Ooh. So I've got mine on one line and then 2 lines for the other 2, but you can do it however. It really makes no difference at all, as long as they're there somewhere. So we've got those. I think we very briefly went over what the modules do. So XBMC is pretty much kind of built-in XBMC functions, or Koding functions should I say, but the system is still called XBMC when you come to the coding part of it. So that's things like, you know, if you want to execute specific commands. The XBMC GUI is more for GUI related stuff, so skinning type stuff or dialogues, things like that. And then this XBMC plugin. Now, do you remember on lesson 1, I think it was, we when we done the code and we was printing to the log, there was something popping up at the bottom which said, hold on, I think I've got it here actually. There was something down at the bottom which said something about an error. Oh no, hold on, I'll tell you what, I'll just quickly run it, that test one. Right, if I check my log now, should hopefully, right, I don't know if you can see that, but there's an error at the bottom. I mean, it doesn't affect anything as such. We never got a script error or anything like that, but there is 2 errors at the bottom. Something about X file, C directory, get directory, error getting plugin video test, and then there's a GUI media window get directory failed. Right. Do you remember seeing that before? I think Shan or someone brought it up last time. Yeah.
Yep.
Now, we're going to get rid of that error now. The reason that error was there is because in the add-on XML we told it that this kind of plugin that we're creating is one that has a proper plugin directory structure. Okay, but it didn't. We didn't have that, and so it's looking for the directory structure to stop. There's a command to say, okay, stop doing the directory structure. Because we never actually created one in the first place, we didn't bother creating a stop one either, which is why the error comes up. It's not a big error, but you know, we will get rid of that in this. So if we go back to our default Py, what we're going to see is, where are we? Do you know what? On mine, I'm just going to comment out last week's thingy for now. So highlight that, edit, comment.
So Lee, do you want us doing that at the same time too then?
You might as well. Yeah, it just makes it a little bit easier to see where we are.
Okay.
Right. So if you got your code looks like that now, yeah? So everything commented out apart from that code you've pasted.
Yep.
Okay, in that case, click on Save and go into Kodi and try running it and see what happens.
Sorry, Lee, how do I comment it out again quickly?
Okay, if you highlight it, so
Yep.
I just click on the side and hold Shift and down, and then if you go to Edit, and then there's Comment and Toggle Comment. Also, you could just use Control and slash. That also does it.
Okay, thank you. I forgot that one.
No problem. So if we try running that, you should now have a folder in there.
My first video.
Yeah. And you can try clicking on it if you want, but I doubt anything's going to happen. It's trying to play on mine, but
trying.
it should fail. The reason being we haven't actually given it a valid link.
Yeah, nothing happened.
Yep. So we come back out of that. Let's go back to the code. And right, let's go through this one bit at a time. So the first bit is probably the most complex, to be honest with you. We've got AddOnHandle, right? So that's a variable we're just creating. We could call that whatever we wanted, but in that example they've called it AddOnHandle, and that is, so where you've got int, that means convert what we're going to find out in a minute, convert that into a number. Okay, so int means integer. So do you remember before we had strings and things like that? We str for string, int for integer, and I forget the other one. Float. Yeah.
Float, isn't it?
Float. Well done, Shan. Yeah.
Don't think we've used float though yet, have we?
No, I don't believe we have actually. That's like a decimal point one, floating.
Yeah,
number.
it's just a number with like 15.2.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So we're telling it whatever we've got in the brackets here, we need to make that into a number. Okay. So what we're actually telling it in these brackets is sys, which is you can see there we've imported it above sys. That's system commands. So we're telling it import the system module. Well, we've told it to import that above, and now we're telling it we want to run that module, and from that module we want to call the argv function. Now the argv function brings back a list of now how do I say this? It brings back a list of different bits and pieces about where in Kodi you are. So if you look back at that page again, I don't think you need to see it, but can you see 3.1 retrieving arguments?
Yep.
Yep.
Brilliant. Yep. So this, I like to say, this is quite confusing, and really we're not going to go too much in depth on it at this stage, but I'll just explain what they've basically put here. So it sends back a list of 3 different items. Okay, so the first item it sends back in the list is the base URL of your add-on. So in our case, that will be plugin video test. Yeah, so if you put sys.argv and then in the square brackets 0, yeah, because that's the first one in the list is 0. That is what it will send. It will tell us that is plugin video test. Okay, and we could try that if you wanted. You could try and print that in the log. So let's give that a go actually. So if we do, where should we put that? Let's put it.
We're just changing it to 0.
Underneath AddOnHandle. If you do XBMC log, XBMC log sys arg v and then 0. Save that. And then we want to run that. You don't actually have to click on the video if you don't want to. But if you look in the log now, if you open the test add-on and then look in the log, if you scroll right down to the bottom, you should be able to see plugin video test. So that XBMC log, I'm going to delete that because we don't actually need that now. So the process handle, we've basically said, look, that's a variable. It's called AddOnHandle, and where else are we using this? I'm just going to highlight this. This is a good little trick actually. If you don't know it already, if you just highlight it, it should show you everywhere it's being used.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it shows a little box around it. So that's actually quite useful. If you've, it's especially useful if you're, when you come up with that error where it says variable not assigned or something along those lines.
Not defined.
That's it. You've got it. Yeah. So if you highlight whatever the variable was called, it will then show you all the instances of it, so you can see why where you've screwed up basically. It's always a case of you're calling it before you've actually turned it into a variable. So okay, so we've made that into a variable, and that is getting system argument 1, which, as I say, we're going to go into that at more depth later on, but not at this moment in time. And all we really need to know is we've got that line there, and we need to end it with this line here, the bottom one, the XBMC plugin end of directory, and then you put in whatever you called that variable. And that is, that's pretty much it as far as initializing a sort of plugin structure goes. You just need those two bits, top and bottom. Yeah, so it's that's pretty much all you need. You just need those two, and then everything in between is that's actually that's all relating to our video, if you like, our actual item that we're going to click on. So now we've got that. Let's make it look a little bit cleaner. So first of all, where it says URL equals localhost somevideo.mkv, now clearly, that's just an example that they've used on that wiki page. We already have a video that we could use. So down below, what we're going to do is, tell you what we're going to do actually. We will copy the video and the trailer sections of last week's guide, so those two lines. Yep, so we copy the video and trailer from last week, and what we're going to do is just put that To keep things tidy, actually, I've got the global variables bit above that. I'm just going to copy all the way from global variables down to trailer. So copy that, and I'm going to put that below our imports. And press enter a couple of times. And then we're just going to need to uncomment that little section there. So it should look something like that. So there are global variables. Okay, they're something that we're just saying. Okay, this is always going to be this. It's never going to change. That is always going to be static. Those variables are going to stay like that. And then if we do change them in a module, as soon as we exit that module, if we do change them in a function, we can use them and quickly change them in a function. As soon as we leave that function, they go back to what they're globally defined as. Now, because we've got those, we don't actually.
Okay, Lee, can I ask? Okay, can I just say something really quick? Okay, just so that I'm wrapping my head around this. When it's outside of a function, it'll always revert back to that.
That's
when the function's done doing what it's supposed to do.
It will. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Easy peasy. That's great.
Yeah. Brilliant. That's a good question, that, because you can really trip yourself up there if you define, because you can define something inside a function. And you can define something outside of a function as well. If it's defined outside, it's a global thing. So as soon as you leave that little function environment, it's going to revert back to the global one. But if you define something in a function, it only exists in that function. It exists nowhere else. So as soon as you leave that function, if you try calling it again, it will error.
Okay.
Yep. But we'll come more into that at another date, I think, because it can get complex. But so we've got those things there, and where we've got that URL down the bottom there, down the bottom of line 20 on mine, the local host, I think what we're going to do is we'll delete that, and we're going to use our video one instead. So what we need to do is find URL. Can you see, where's URL on there? Down here, where you've got, well, actually, let's go through this one line at a time. So basing it on last week, what we learnt last week, so let's just put a comment in there. That is initialize plugin directory structure. Right, that should make it a bit clearer, hopefully. So that's what we need to initialize the plugin directory structure. And then this one down here, we've already been through that one, so that is to close directory structure. Okay, now, so basing it on last week, we should already be familiar with line 22 on my one. So can you see there, Shan? It's got that li equals XBMC GUI list item.
Yep.
Okay. Now, do you remember we basically done this with last week's work, I think.
Yep.
We may have used a slightly different variable name, but I'm sure I'm sure we went through it. Yep, yeah. What we done last week is a little bit simpler. We done list item equals XBMC GUI dot list item, and we just give it a name. We called it trailer or movie or whatever we called it. Okay, so we're doing exactly the same process, but in this case we're calling it, so we're putting that first parameter in there, which is the title. Okay, so we're giving this a title, and we're also giving it an icon image. Now Kodi by default has a whole load of different default images you can use, and I'll put a link to that up when we do the YouTube guide. But yeah, there's loads of them. So I mean, that one there says default video PNG. There's, I think, default add-ons.png, default music PNG. There's tons of them. Honestly, there's loads and loads, and it just changes slightly. So you might have a picture of a sort of TV, you might have a picture of a video camera, that sort of thing. This is just the plain basic. I think it's like a blue folder, isn't it?
Mine was kind of neat looking.
Quite neat looking, was it?
Well, it was it's just a little circle, like little square with the play button, kind of.
Ah, cool. Right. Ah, yeah. It is skin dependent, so it does depend on which skin you've got. Yeah. Because they are stored.
Yeah, I'm on Knox.
Ah, that'd be why. Yeah, they got some nice images. Yeah, I'm on Confluence. Right. So what we're doing in this line is we're just basically saying, look, XBMC, we need to set up a list item. It's not doing anything more than just creating a name and giving it an image. At this point, it doesn't know what to do with the name or image. It just knows that variable li is is a name and an image. So to keep it in line with last week's work, I'm going to rename that li to, what do we call it? List item. List item. Actually, that's not a good example. Damn it. Do you know what? We'll leave it as li. I'll tell you why in a second. We'll leave it as li for now. Sorry about that. The reason I say that is I just realised it's going to get confusing otherwise. Because the next section,
we could call it anything we want, though, right, Lee? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, you could call it directory 1 or whatever you want.
Indeed. Yeah. Really, yeah. You call it whatever you like. So if we highlight that, you'll be able to see why I didn't want to call it list item after all, because the line below, we'd
have to change that.
We've already got list item equals, and if we do list item equals list item, it does get confusing. Yeah, it would work, because you can see we've also got URL equals URL, which is a bad example. So, but that's not my doing that one. That's from the wiki page. So we let it slide. We let that one slide. But what we are going to need to do here is you've got the XBMC plugin dot add directory item, and then what you're telling it is you need the handle first of all. So that's that thing that you've initialized your directory structure with. Okay, it's a very basic example we're doing. So like I say, we're going more in depth further on down the weeks, but for now you just need to know that is going to work, okay, for what we're going to need it for. The URL, we did, if you remember, we had a variable called URL, but we deleted it. So what we can put in here is URL equals. You could either
Video.
do video or trailer. Yeah, I'm going to do video because that makes sense.
Me too.
Me three.
Brilliant, brilliant. And if you need to know more about what variables you can put in here, what different parameters you can use in the XBMC plugin module, you can go to that module page that I briefly touched on last week, and that'll show you exactly all the things you can pass through. But essentially what we're just sending here is the handle, the URL, and the list item, which is going to give it the both the image and the title. Okay. The other thing we've got there, which we don't even need, to be quite honest, for this example, but I mean, I'll leave it there. On line 20, that I skipped earlier, didn't mention, is XBMC plugin dot set content, and then we've got AddOnHandle movies. What that's telling Kodi to do is kind of set up the correct view type. So you could have that as movies, you could have that as audio, I think episodes is one. There's a few different ones you can use, and it would change the view type a little bit.
Yep.
But we don't particularly need that. So I'm just going to comment, I'm going to comment that line out now. And I think we should probably try running it and see if it works, I guess. So if we save that, let's save it.
Hopefully I typed everything correctly when I was trying to catch up.
Yeah, me too. Find out in about 2 seconds.
Before the immunization stations open, the junior
Yay.
team
Hey, it's playing the video.
Oh,
Brilliant.
yay.
If you press I as well when you're playing it, it should also say my first video.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yep.
Fabulous. Fabulous. Right. So obviously, I mean, does that make sense how you would change the video there? So if you wanted the trailer one, it would just be a case of changing that URL to say trailer.
Yeah.
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 Excellent. Now, essentially, I mean, that is all you need to do to add a directory item. So we could copy those two lines. So let's copy them, and let's paste it again down there, just below, and we'll just change the title to. I'm going to actually make it match this time. So I'm going to do trailer on this one, and then the one above I'm going to do video, and also use the video as the URL.
Should we rename my first video to my second video or whatever?
Yeah. I'm changing my header to video and trailer, and also changing the URL to match as well.
Okay.
And then if we save that, come back out the add-on, go back in. You should have two options.
Movie and trailer.
Great. And they should play
Before the
and show the
immunization
relevant
stations
title.
opened, the Junior Chamber of Commerce began a house-to-house.
I'm
Yep,
just
good to go.
going to try just going to try changing my image, my top image, to default add-on, and the one below to default. I think there's one called music. Let's try that. I'm going to save that just so that you can see how the default images will change. He says. It can't be called default music. I don't seem to have one for that, but the add-on one worked for me. It's changed to a jigsaw puzzle piece.
I think it's called audio instead of music.
It might well be, actually. I think you are right there.
Yep, it did.
It is.
Audio's fine.
Thank God you're here, Shan.
Every once in a while.
Oh yeah, look at that. Yeah. Well done. Brilliant. I mean, obviously, what we could do there is, if you've got a URL to an image, you could stick that in there.
Cool.
So you can, stick whatever you want in there. So when it comes to adding our directories, that is all we need, right? Like, we just need those 2 lines. So I mean, that's pretty simple.
Amazing.
Yeah. There's not a lot to it at all. Now, what we're going to do though is, we don't want to write 2 lines of code down because they're quite long lines of code as well. We don't want to do that every time we want to add a directory. So the best way to do it, turn it into a function. So what we need to do is, well, let's delete the second one. We only need 1 instance of it. And so just above the li equals, we do def for define and a space, and we're going to call this add dir open close brackets and a colon. And because it's a function, because we've defined something, well, easiest way to know, because we've got a colon before it, if ever there's a colon, it means the next line has to be indented. So we indent that and make sure that the next line is also in line with that one. So it should, oh bloody hell, I've got tabs on and I want spaces. Okay. Right, so we've now got add directory, but when we call that, we need to send something to it. Otherwise, every time we call it, it's just going to add a directory called video, one. Exactly the same one, and it's going to have that URL as the video URL, which, okay, it'd be quick to knock up an add-on, just do add directory, add directory, add directory, but it wouldn't be very exciting. So, in the brackets...
This is getting exciting, just so you know. Sorry.
So in the brackets, let's put a couple of variables. What we get? Oh shit! Put my cursor back over there. So what we're going to want is, let's put something like URL, comma. What else do we need to send? Title, and I suppose might as well send image. Oh, no, icon we call it. So if we do image, we might get confused if we ever add fan art as well. But for now, these 3 do. And then we're just going to need to change our function a little bit to where we've got our title in that first line. So li equals XBMC GUI list item, then we've got video, or whatever you've called yours. Just delete that video and the quotation marks and type in title. So then our title is going to be whatever we send it. Yep. So whatever our middle parameter is that we've sent, so the one that matches title, that's what's going to appear. Yep, so it'll be replaced with that. And icon image equals default add-on PNG. We change that to icon image equals delete default add-on PNG, and we'll have that as icon. And fan art, which I was messing around with earlier, I'm just going to delete that. We don't want that on there at all. So you should have li equals XBMC GUI list item title, comma, icon image equals icon. Yep. Cool. Perfect. And then the only other thing we have to edit is the line below is URL equals, well, we don't want it to be video, so we're going to stick with that stupid example they had on the wiki page.
URL?
URL equals URL. Yep.
Don't start giggling again.
So, right. So if we was to run that, nothing would happen because we're not doing anything. We've not called that function. So to call that function, all we got to do is make sure we're below the function itself, because we can't call a function from above. You always sort of need to be below. Unless you're calling another function from inside a function, then it doesn't matter where in the code it is. But if you're on the main add-on code, if you like, on that very first space, it always needs to be above where you currently are. So what we're going to do is do add dir, open brackets, make sure you use whatever uppercase, lowercase combination you used for add directory. And what we're going to put in there is, so the URL is, I'm going to have that as video, because we know video is already set as a URL. And then title, I'm going to have that as quotation marks, because I don't have a variable set up as a title yet, so I'm going to call that what was it? I've forgotten now. Oh, babies and breadwinners I had, didn't I? Classic. Breadwinners.
I think ARB and I have better ones. That was a funny one. Okay,
Right.
so you actually have to put the name of it, though?
Well, you can put whatever you like. This is what's going to show in your list. So your directory item, this is going to be the name that shows.
Okay.
So yeah, it can be anything you want. Don't forget the quotation marks, and then we're going to need a comma, and then finally the icon. If you can be bothered to search the internet for one, you could quickly do that.
I just clicked on the first one that actually worked.
Brilliant. So we've got add directory, video, which is the URL, and then we've got the title, and then we've got the icon. Yep.
Yep.
Right, let's save it and try running it and see.
Oh, that looks nice.
I was just 2 steps ahead of it.
Hey, the icons come up. Brilliant.
Nice, and the video plays, so we're good.
Fabulous.
This is fun.
Immunization stations open.
Marvellous. Right, that's good. So, do you want to try add in another couple as well? To see if you can get another
Yeah,
couple of like
definitely.
URLs. I'm not going to go hunting around for URLs because it's too slow, unfortunately, my internet. But, well, I think it's this Google Hangouts thing messing it up. So, I'm going to do...
What was that website? Okay.
Archive?
archive.org. I just googled for movies archive.org and it just sort of took me there.
Yeah.
tell you
there
what,
it is.
if you could post those links that you find in Telegram, that'd be great.
Okay, so Lee, you basically just want us to kind of like copy paste and add new directories?
Do we need to make a new variable?
Yeah, I'm just whacking them in as new variables. So I'm going to do icon 1 first video, icon 2 second video, and so on. My icons, I've only got one icon that matches, I think. So you can probably guess what I'm going to do here anyway. So that add directory, all I'm going to do is change video to video 1, because I've named my video 1, video 2, video 3, and I'm going to get rid of the big link at the end, and I'm going to change that to icon 1. Now I'm going to copy that line and just paste it another 2 times, and it's just a case of changing them to 2 and 3, 2, 3, and also changing the name, which is Us on the Haunted Hill. Oh, I forgot to share my babies and breadwinners with you, didn't I? I should have given you that link.
You're right.
I'm okay.
It's all good. I'll pass.
Sure. Alright.
That was a good one. Babies and breadwinners. Seriously, worst ever.
Or two.
My last one was what? Something to do with Kung Fu, at least.
Oh yeah, you had the Kung Fu Dragon or something, didn't you?
Yeah.
So
So now I've got-
I've only got 2 videos, so I just need 2
Yeah.
add-on directories.
Cool.
I'm going against the grain a little bit here. I'm just not copying you.
Alright, I'm going to test mine, see if that works. So. And that brings to a close episode 4. Make sure you join us next week in episode 5 when we go through list manipulation and basic regex. Using regular expressions, we grab details from a file and web page and create a list of entries. This is then used to automatically populate Kodi with the relevant video, links and artwork. And if you need any support for any of these guides, please do use the Noobs and Nerds website, where there's a dedicated forum section just for these guides. If you reply, post comments on YouTube, there's a very good chance I won't see it for many days, possibly even weeks, whereas on the forum I'm on there every day and it's usually answered within minutes, certainly hours. Okay, thanks for watching and catch up soon.